All right, and we're back here at KTST FM Anaheim, ready to blow it up here with Mr. Jack Valentine and Dennis Lewin. And wow, I've been going through a lot of the documentary stuff that you are doing in regards to Motley Crue and everything, and I understand also that there's a big in Sweden today. There's a large opening about Motley Crue, and you're involved with that. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, today's day number 1 of the Motley Crue Exhibition in Sweden. It's going to be a 2-month-long exhibition, convention. I'm not even sure what all you call it, but it's like a Star Trek conventions for anything Motley Crue.
Exhibit kind of like thing,
yeah,
right?
And I don't know what they're going to do for 2 months, but they had me send them back a lot of memorabilia and photographs and audio of Mick Mars and my band White Horse, and a lot of things that pertain to the band before Motley Crue, of which I was a part of with our good buddy Bob Deal, Mick Mars, guitar player extraordinaire.
How fun. And how fun it was back in those days, I bet.
Party, huh?
It was crazy. It was life and death, actually, is what it was. Not as much partying as
get to the stage and get off the stage, right?
Just trying to find your next meal at some point. So.
Yeah, I know. Back then, all the artists, it was a really struggling, era where a lot of pushing yourself and getting yourself out there, but also the cutthroat, people taking advantage of you. Where they didn't have all this stuff that is evolving in regards to watching what happens with your records and your music and all of that, and just getting out there as far as, being known and seen.
The contracts back then were probably not the same as they were today.
Yeah.
Well, when you mention the word contract, that has a bad connotation for me, because I had a contract put out on my life. And there was even a nightclub we played in where the owner of the nightclub was arrested for murder of a person that was killed that they found out was involved with this whole mess that our band was involved in. And there was definitely life and death other than just looking for your next meal. It was people trying to kill you for one reason.
How'd you feel about that contract? You heard about that?
Well, the funny thing was that the whole band was fired from our gig over me dating one of the club owner's girls. His club was full of waitresses that he handpicked, and we were told going into the job, don't anybody even talk to any of our waitresses here because they're all handpicked by the club owner. And of course, I'm 21 years old.
What did you have a posse?
No, it must have been Italian. Were you in Brooklyn, the Italians?
Well, he was out of town at the time, and I knew, I just thought it was a bunch of malarkey, and I'm 21 years old. I think I'm God's gift to rock and roll, and hey, screw those rules. I like that waitress over there. I'm going to start talking to her. So we become hot and heavy, and the next thing I'm driving around town in this brand new Corvette that I thought was hers. It wasn't hers, it was the club owner's.
Oh boy.
And I'm driving around town in the club owner's vet, and I'm finding that we're being tailed all over town by these two goons, and I'm going, hey, what's going on here? And she didn't tell me that wasn't her car, and the next thing I know, we're fired from the gig, we're running for our lives, and they're saying, jack it out of town. The band's going to go south to Colorado Springs, and you better just go the other direction. So I wound up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and just running away from this guy that wanted me dead.
What? Wow.
Women. It's always women. Getting us in trouble.
Wow. Yeah. I know, but I bet you had a lot of things thrown up on stage when you guys performed and different things like that,
Well, mainly the things that were thrown up on stage, sometimes were tables and chairs and beer bottles and things like that, because we could play music in a certain order to make the audience fight. And we knew it. We knew if our music was so high energy, if we played these 4 songs in a row, the whole place is going to be a Mel Brooks movie by the time it's over. I mean, there's going to be tables and chairs.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have had a net in front of the stage like they did in some of these movies to catch the furniture. But we could have the place just torn up if we wanted to.
I know, and I don't want to make a comparison, but I had gone to a Rolling Stones concert back in the day, and it was Prince way before he started, when he was just barely getting started, and he opened up for the Rolling Stones. And let me tell you, they were throwing everything on that stage at him. I was like, wow. But at a certain point, he was picking up stuff and throwing it back at people because he was like, that's it, I'm done.
Well, one of the travesties I remember, we were playing a club in Fresno called the Walrus, and it was a biker bar. And we had a run-in with one of the DJs, or not DJs, one of the bartenders, and we thought, all right, they ticked us off. They wouldn't give us free Cokes. They're going to charge us $1 for 7 episodes. So we're going to make this place fight tonight. We got the whole place just fighting, and the cops were called, and the police with a riot squad started with billy clubs pushing everybody out the front door, and literally getting the whole crowd pushed out the door. And one of the bikers grabs this candle, these candles that sat on the table. It's like the size of a softball, and wrapped in little netting, and this big old, like about a 2-pound candle. He walks out the door with this candle, and as soon as the front door opens again, he wheels and wails it in the front door and hit his girlfriend square in the face as the policemen were pushing around. And we all saw it. We all saw it. The biker nailed his girlfriend with that candle right in the face, and then they had to call the paramedics, so she had a broken nose and blood everywhere. But yeah.
Isn't that ironic though that it happened to be his girlfriend
and his wife or something like that? But he just pegged her right in the face with that candle.
Oh, how sad! Wow. And you guys were all like, "That's what you get."
Yeah, we started it.
Karma.
We started it. It was Highway Star. The 3 songs that we put back to back was Supernaut by Queen and Highway Star and Slow Down by the Beatles. And we played those 3 songs in a row. Someone's going to accidentally bump somebody dancing, and the next thing you know, everybody's swinging on each other.
Wow.
It was pretty
I think I'm going to put those 3 together and see what happens over here.
I know, huh? We'll see if we have anybody trying to rush through the door or anything, or trying to get out, right?
Yeah.
It's like, MDK, there she is! Get him, Big G! No, I'm just kidding. So, what other groups did you play with a lot?
Well, there was to give you a little history of Motley Crue through the bands that I was involved in. I played in a band in high school which was called the Images, and the Images had Pat Hawk as the lead singer. She wound up being the backup vocalist for Michael Bolton and John Denver and the Righteous Brothers. She got a big name herself just as a backup singer. She's the older sister of Tony Hawk, the skateboard champion. Tony Hawk was actually born during one of our band practices. I remember we had to stop practice because they were bringing the little Hawk home from the hospital, and that was Tony born that day. So I played in that band with a guy named Kevin, and then the Vietnam War broke that band up, and Kevin went off to Vietnam. He was a little goofy when he was in Whitehorse, but when he came, or when he was in the Images, but when he came back from Vietnam, he was a mess. And we put together, well, it was, I don't know if it was shell-shocked, or maybe he was upset at the fact that his wife had had an affair while he was gone and had a baby with some other guy, but he came back and he was totally crazy. We put a band together called Joint Session, which was a band about exactly what you think it would have been, a band called Joint Session, and we were, our moniker was, we do some pretty fine numbers, and our logo was the Zigzag Man from the Rolling Papers. So this was just a full-on pot band singing songs about drugs. And we played in that band for a while, and that band had a chance to really do something big because we had a song about the Republican National Convention that was coming to San Diego in 1972. And they had a song about the Vietnam War, and 4 years prior to that, Chicago had become famous, putting out the whole world's watching song at the time of the '68 Democratic Convention, and that was a springboard to Chicago's success. So 4 years later, when the Republicans were coming to San Diego, and we still got the war going on, we said, we're going to run Nixon out of town on a pole. We're going to make this anti-war song and have the biggest riots that you're going to make Chicago look like nothing. But Nixon was smarter than that, and at the last minute he decided, I'm going to yank the convention out of San Diego so that all the hippies coming from Haight-Ashbury and LA are not going to be able to go all the way to Miami in time to riot. But what that did was that washed out our song and went down the drain, and Joint Session just blew up, and we were living in a big 7-bedroom mansion that the record company put us in, and they all thought we were going to be big superstars. And when the whole thing dissolved and all fell apart, I mean, we were already hung out on drugs, and we had this big house, and no more record deal, no more hit song, and that band broke up and came back to San Diego. And so that same guy, Kevin, begs me. He says, "Look, we need money. Just let's play some joint session songs in some of these biker bars to make bucks." And I thought, I hate your guts, because he was scheming on my wife behind my back, that I found out later. And long story short, I'm having to play with my enemy in this new band, and I said, "I'll play in this band for any money, any place, as long as we don't call it joint session. I don't want to tarnish the name joint session." So the bass player looks around and he says, "So what are we going to call this Motley Crue?" And we couldn't come up with a name for about 3 weeks. So every time we played in a club, I said, "Well, welcome to whatever club. We're called Motley Crue," and I called us basically Motley Crue for a couple weeks. Never official. We never had cards printed up. But Kevin and I started the very first Motley Crue, until the time I could convince the guys in the band, he's crazy. We got to get rid of this guy. I've known him since the Images.
Yeah.
I've known him since '66. This guy is going to mess us up. We got to get rid of him. So what we did was we brought a guy named Bob Deal, who is now known as Mick Mars, into Whitehorse, which had once been called Motley Crue, and the rest is history. Mick Mars replaced Kevin. If we didn't fire Kevin, there would have never been a Motley Crue. Or if there was, if Mick Mars, Bob, I'll always call him from this point on Mick Mars, but his real name was Bob Deal. But if Mick Mars would have found another band to start and become a superstar with, they wouldn't have been called Motley Crue, and they wouldn't have had an upside-down drummer, because that's another story.
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a few minutes. Yeah. We do have to take a break really quick, and all of this is just so amazing, but we'll be right back, right after this. All right, and we're back here at KTST FM Anaheim with Mr. Jack Valentine, and wow, the stories, I know everybody out there listening is like, wow, this dude is like real time here.
Well, I would never tell any of these stories until the internet came out. I waited 20, 15 years, whatever it was. I wrote a book way back when, but I thought, no one's ever going to believe this. I don't want to tell anybody about it. I don't even want to open my mouth, because it's so far-fetched that everyone's going to just figure I'm full of malarkey. And then once the internet came out, oh, well, maybe I can defend myself and put some photographs and put video and show some evidence of the fact that, wait a minute, this isn't a bunch of malarkey,
Yeah.
And then what happens is Mick Mars drops out of the clear blue sky after he's already a big star and walks right into my living room, and he lets me video record him telling these stories. So now I've got it from the horse's mouth.
Right on.
Mick Mars is saying the same thing I say. Yeah, guess what? Harry named Motley Crue. Harry, the bass player in Whitehorse. He named the band Motley Crue. And Mick told, in fact, that's on the internet. You want to hear where Motley Crue came from? Mick will tell you.
Right on. That's awesome. And so, Jack, you were the one that played drums upside down. Let's get to that. Are we moving like to that, up to that?
Well, that actually goes back to Joint Session, because again, Joint Session was the band that was supposed to be the next big thing. And in 1972, the record company said, we got the perfect song for you. It's an anti-war song. We're going to have this giant riot in San Diego. Everyone's going to push Nixon and stop it.
Yeah.
You guys have the song. I sang the song. It was my voice. It was written by a disc jockey in San Diego, so he was going to play the heck out of it. And we figured, we're going to get all this airplay. We got this song about the Vietnam War. The record company people said, now what you need is a gimmick. You need something to keep from being a one-hit wonder, because, boys, quite honestly, you're not Chicago. Chicago were great musicians. They had a fabulous band to go with, their anti-war stuff. And you're just three guys that are, you're all right. You need a gimmick. Do something nobody will ever forget. So I thought, well, what can I do that no one will ever forget? I can play the drums upside down. And they said, no, you can't. I said, yes, I can. I can build a contraption where my drums will hang from the ceiling and I'll play the drums upside down. They said, if you do that, we'll get you on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. So I started working on it, but then, of course, I told the story how the band broke up and it all fell apart. So then when Whitehorse is kicking around, and all of a sudden I'm realizing, ooh, look at this band. We've got a band of 5 guys. We have 5 lead singers and 5 guys that write music. We've got a vehicle for success again. maybe I should start getting that upside down drum thing back
Yeah.
together. You know, but then, like I say, we had to fire Kevin. We brought in Mick Mars. They kind of like staggered things for a while, and we went on the road. The reason Whitehorse went on the road was to hide from Kevin, because when we fired, he was the leader of the band. Kevin was the leader of Whitehorse. He was the one that booked the gigs. He knew what we were getting paid. He signed all the contracts. And he was the one that was stealing money from us.
Yeah.
We'd do a gig for $800. He said we're making 400. He'd give us, you know, our cut of 400. He'd put 400 in his pocket.
Wow.
So we finally caught him doing that, and then we said, but we got to fire the guy without him knowing about it, because he's an ex-Vietnam wacko loony. He's a guy that'll slit our throats if we fire him. So we thought we got to bring someone in the group no one's ever heard of, not a named guitar player. We couldn't bring Eddie Van Halen, who was a friend of ours. We couldn't bring Eddie Van Halen in the band. We couldn't bring in any named guitar players. So we found this guy living in a shed behind a nightclub, Bob Deal, Mick Mars. We brought him in the group, taught him all of our music behind Kevin's back, and as soon as he was ready, we went on the road for 3 months. We fired Kevin, and we let Mick Mars play with us and basically learn how to be a rock star at Whitehorse's expense. But he finally got to the point where he was the best guy in the group.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, we started talking, and Mick and I, we lived together. The other 3 guys all had girlfriends or were living with somebody, and Mick and I were the 2 single guys, so we lived together. We actually lived in the basement. There was another single guy. And we did everything together. We went to dinner together, and so I started talking to Mick. I said, we need a gimmick. And the whole thing about the upside down drum platform at that time was a diversion, because I wanted to blow Mick Mars up on stage. I said, this is our show. I'm going to build for you a pinwheel, like you have in the circus, where the lady goes up against the pinwheel and then they spin her around and the knife thrower throws knives at her while she's turning. I said, we're going to build a pinwheel for you, and it's going to be a fake pinwheel. There's going to be a dummy guitar on the back side, and you're going to step up on the front side, and it's going to start spinning. And as soon as it starts spinning and you're going around and around, the lights are going to go off on you, and it's going to come up on me, and I'm going to go upside down. And then the roadies are going to flip the thing around on you so that the dummy's facing forward, and as it's going around and around, I'm going to jump out of the drums and go up to this TNT plunger at the front of the stage, and I'm going to push the TNT plunger down, and the dummy's going to blow up, and it's going to be full of hamburger meat. We're going to shoot Mick Mars all over the audience. And I said, that's the way we're going to end our show. I said, no one will ever forget anything like that. I said, we'll be stars just
That's imagination right there.
Yeah, well, you know, that was what and they actually did that. I can't believe this, but I was in my business. I had a customer come in, and he started talking to me about Motley Crue. He saw him in Philadelphia, and he says, yeah, they blew Mick Mars up on stage in Philadelphia. I said, did they really? How did they do that? Did they put him on a pinwheel and spin him around? And they said, no, they just wheeled out this dummy standing there. You could tell it was fake as can be. I said, well, they needed to spin it so you can't tell it's fake. They said, no, they had this fake Mick Mars there. And they blew it up, and it was full of chicken bones and stuff. And I said, it says, you know, I only heard of them doing it once, and it was so stupid they never tried it again. And I don't even know if it's true or not. But, you know, these ideas that we gave Mick, I mean, he wound up obviously telling Tommy Lee, hey, why don't you play the drums upside down? But I know where it came from, and there's about 5,000 of you people out here in this Orange County audience that saw it. I did it 15 times in Orange County, and I know there's about 5,000 of you people that go, hey, I saw that.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
We played just down the street at a place called the Anaheim Warehouse. And the Anaheim Warehouse, we had a big enough stage where I could play upside down, and we played there the same night that Evel Knievel was jumping the Snake River. And my upside down drum platform almost fell a couple different times, and I started getting the nickname of the Evel Knievel of drums, because if that ever
probably going to be, he's going to think of something like that. Watch.
Well, if it ever fell, it would have killed me, because that would have been about 1,600 pounds with my head as a roll bar.
Wow.
And a glass set of drums. It would have definitely killed me if it ever fell.
I'm looking at the youngsters over here. They're looking at that book like, what is that in there? What are these called? Well, they're called pictures. That's what we do.
Hey, I have family albums, you know.
Yeah, scroll through those.
I know, everything
There's not a
is
figure in it.
evolved into, just taking your phone and
Yeah.
incorporate. That's amazing. Well, I want to play some of the music.
Well, if this is a song called Sleaze Queen that was one of White Horse originals. It's Mick Mars on lead guitar. Kind of a tacky song about a tacky woman in a strip club. But
All right, here we go.
this is a live recording.